Thank you.
In business.
Okay.
Rob?
Robert Lemansky, Vice Chair. It's August 7th at 6:38. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Charlton Water and Sewer Commission together here at the Town Hall Selectmen Room. And the first order of business is Commissioners' Public Forum from 6:35 to 6:50. Does anyone have anything? I do. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that desk and just give you this information, okay? And Paul, could you pass this down to, one to Jen, keep one to yourself, keep one for Katie. Okay.
Here. Okay. And another one too, Jen. Jen, one for Steve too.
Thank you, Commissioners. Just indulge me here. This would have come up if it was on the agenda, but it's not on the agenda. And I know myself, I had gotten a few phone calls and was approached about last week's sewer rate meeting. And I'd like to thank both Steve and also Norma for the work that they put in this as far as coming up with figures that are at the office. And the important thing to remember here is that what was reported at our last meeting by the sewer rate study done by Don Gardner was that the retained earnings for 2016 were $630,246. And during that meeting, there was a discussion, and I appreciate Jen's input that there should have been an asterisk next to that number, because that particular number represents only 3 quarters from 2016. And this is where we go to the next page, where I called on Norma and Steve, and they put the numbers together, and you'll see midway at the page, January through March, that particular billing cycle, because of its time, it was not billed to where it would have fit into the 2016 accounting period, so it got pushed into 2017 accounting period. And that total of cash of both surcharges and normal billings was $253,384. Now, you take that number plus the certified retained earnings of $630,246. I believe that the corrected retained earnings for 2016 should be $883,630. And the other thing I'd like to point out, on the top half of the page, the 4 billings that are for 2017, this is the fiscal year that we just finished, June 30th. The total billing amount for those quarters came to $1,106,087. And I think with Steve's experience, he will tell you is that's an above average amount of billing, because we usually do about $250,000 a quarter to $1 million. This was $1,106,000. So the retained earnings projected by our expert that we hired to be $122,000. I think when you go and add these numbers in, plus in having a conversation with the town accountant today, our current cash position of the water sewer. In this cash position includes betterments that are in balance, and also privilege fees. Totals $2,131,042. So the whole point of this is I'm trying to bring to light the impact of that 1 quarter And also, the fact is that, granted, we do need to look at our sewer rates, but in no way are we going to have a balance of $122,000. Thank you for your time. Okay, moving on. First item is the motion to approve warrants.
We got 4 of them here, Mr. Acting Chair. The first one's for Pioneer Consulting Group for $3,500 even. The second one is also, is for Parkinson Corporation for parts for the high core unit. And the total on that is $3,960.88. And the last 2 are for Veolia, plant operator, and one of them is $36,412.50. And the other one is also $36,412.50, and that includes the bills we've paid so far.
Do I have a motion? A second on that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know who made the motion.
Okay, so.
Waiting for you.
Okay, so what?
Oh, okay, second.
All right, discussion? Okay. Now, Steve, is it, on the sewer rate study, is this the last payment?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was pending a comment that if we do decide to have a public meeting and we needed him, he would come back. So,
I'll come back. Okay.
I should have mentioned also, I don't think I said it, on those 2 equal payments to Veolia, the first one was for June and the second one was for July, so those are 2 separate months that were, which is a standard fee, so.
Any other comments or questions? Going back to the operations, probably only see one, I see one invoice or one warrant here for them. Are there 2?
should be
The
2.
Gotcha, thank you. All those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I also have some abatements for, one of them's for, these are all for senior abatements. The first one is for Title V customers at 57 Vine Street, 72 Park Road, 145 Glen Echo Shore Drive, 60 Park Road, 45 Burlingame Road, 146 Glen Echo Shore Road, 43 Burlingame Road, 145 Old Worcester Road, 45 Hollywood Drive, 15 Stevens Drive, 133 North Sturbridge Road, and 57 Main Street. The total of them is $315 even. And the next set of senior abatements is for those on metered accounts, and they're at 141 Stafford Street, 6 Lakeview Ave, 16 Carpenter Hill Road, 3 Carpenter Hill Road, 1 Stafford Street, 150 Glen Echo Shore Drive, 3 Stevens Drive, 131 Sunset Drive, 24 Main Street, 44 Burlingame Road, 19 Sunset Drive, 23 Ash Road, 147 City Depot Road, 82 Park Road, 139 Carpenter Hill Road, 9 J. Hammond Road, 125 Old Worcester Road, and 70 Carpenter Hill Road, the total of all those being $309.98.
Do I have a second on that, please?
Jen?
Second, yes,
Okay. Any discussion?
yes. I will abstain from the vote, but, if 6 Lakeview Ave, does exist, then I can vote. If it is 6 Lakeview Drive, then I abstain.
I could have said it wrong, I don't even see a 6
Nope, it
right
says
here right
Ave,
now.
but
I have 6 Lakeview Ave.
I'm fine with voting
I
six.
don't know if that's what I said, but,
No, that's what you said. I'm fine
Okay.
with voting 6 Lakeview Ave, but I will abstain if it's Drive.
okay, well, it is Ave written here.
Okay?
Aye. All those in favor?
Aye.
By saying aye?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay, Paul, these two for the signing these up here. So,
Yep.
that's it? Are there no minutes available to be approved this evening?
No, sir.
We have none.
So, Steve, while we're just finishing this up, you want to begin your administrator's report?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Town of Southbridge readings are at the office. We're loading them in to Vadar, and we've run 2 reports. High-core units have started, high-core parts for the repairs have started to come into the plant. EQ 2 and 3, 2 of the 4, and the worst 2 have been replaced. 2 more need to be done. There has been email exchange back and forth between the AG's office and our office relative to a definition of conflict of interest. And that is relative as to how we end up at a 10% or a total number. There were comments that were brought up at the last meeting, and I'm awaiting for a final result or final report from them. There have been more questions relative to 46 Worcester Road. We will in fact be investigating Worcester Road on Wednesday of this week. We'll be die checking to see and find out where we can determine whether it's connected or not. We have been told that the town of Southbridge, the VFDs, have arrived. They have completed Mass Ave, and they are reprogramming the situation. So by the end of the week, that should be up and running with the VFD drives. Items sent prior to were warrants. Should correct, there was no minutes sent. The agenda, McClure agreements, Beta update, and the matrix. Questions, comments?
Anyone have any questions for Steve on the report?
I do not.
A question, Steve.
Sir.
Number 3 on the EQ pumps. With the rain events, did those chime in and do the job?
They've helped. We were far lower on the EQ tanks. They normally run around 7.5 feet in the tanks before they start and they stop. With those 2 extra the 2 pumps working now, as they should, we've noticed the difference at the plant.
All right.
Should be a better situation once the other 2 are fixed.
Okay. And on number 7, the expectations of the VFDs, is it going to help to prevent some of the hammering? What have they said?
As far as I understand, because information yet, I checked today for more information, is they did find a 10 PSI swing as opposed to the 20 and 30 that they had the last time. So I don't know what that means. I certainly expect that by next meeting, we'll have the details all married together between KLF, between Beta, and between the town of Southbridge.
Okay, good. All set, Jen? Yep. Okay. All right. Then, our 7:45 is not going to be here.
He'll be here at 7:15, sir, excuse me.
7:45, okay, and the 8:15 is going to be here at 7:15?
I'm sorry. The 7:45 is canceled. I had
Right.
called the
Yep.
the 8:15, he will be here for 7:15. My
Okay.
apologies.
Okay. Where on the sheet, Steve, can we move down to?
Well, if I might like to explain further on the EQ tanks.
Sure.
I'm asking for permission and advice. The 2 pumps that we have need to be reworked, or new need to be bought. I'm trying to get a price on what the new is. I want to send those 2 pumps out to get them rebuilt, or at least evaluated, so we can complete the effort to repair and replace those 4 pumps that are in the ground. We've replaced the 2 worst ones.
If I may, the 2 that you replaced with new pumps?
Yes,
Okay, so now you're thinking out of the 4, we should be able to make 2 good ones?
I don't know that. They've been in the ground for some years, so it'll be up to the people that evaluate it to say yes or no. and then we'll use a 60/40 rule, which we've been using. If the cost of rebuild is over 60% of a new pump, then my recommendation would be buy 2 new pumps.
What's the cost for just having them sent out to
I don't know that yet.
Springfield?
I don't know that yet.
These pumps, how many horse are they? They're fairly heavy.
I don't know. I'm going to guess 15 to 20 horsepower per
Okay,
pump.
so it's some good-sized machinery
Yeah,
to take
they-
them out of the hole and,
Yeah,
right. Well, again, the only thing you can do is get them evaluated.
that's what we'll do.
Any commissioners, any issues with that, or they seem to be the right path?
That's what we've been doing, 60/40.
And I guess the other thing is it worthwhile checking as far as the duty that those pumps have to do in the amount of horsepower in the curve, to just check to make sure they are the right pumps?
The only foolish question is the one we don't ask, so.
Yeah, yeah.
When we send the pipe out for evaluation to see if it's worth rebuilding or not, do they charge us for that?
Generally, what they do is there's a charge for the estimate, and the charge is waived if you buy new pumps or you have them do the rebuild. So
How much is the charge?
they generally run $400 or $500.
Yeah, considering the cost of the pumps, and
Yeah.
that's company seems extremely reliable and
Yes.
efficient, and,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. What is it, what's it, AB?
Flight, these are flight pumps.
Flight, no, the company out in Springfield. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, but again, they're the ones. Okay. Steve, is there anything on here you can answer?
Status of the superintendent. As of today, there are 6 applicants,
Okay,
so.
and how much further is that gonna go?
uh,
When's the plug on that?
Right now, it's in the hands of the director of HR, and the ads are posted until withdrawn, so I don't know that question.
And we've had it up there how many weeks?
3 weeks?
Longer than
2.5
3 weeks. 5?
I don't think it's been 5.
Okay, because I thought we were supposed to, didn't the original ad say that it was the 24th or 26th of July was the close-off? And I know we talked about, because it went in to this other professional, not magazine, but
There were 2 professional sites that they went, one was
Right.
WW and
Yeah,
the
the
other was
American
MM.
Water Works
Yeah.
Association.
And
Right, so we were gonna wait a
MMW.
few more weeks. We really should think about closing this. That's just my thought, I'm only one person
I
here.
got a 2-part question here concerning this too. Who's reviewing these applications, and are we gonna interview all 6 applicants, or are we gonna narrow it down and select before we even bring people in?
I believe the HR director is going to contact the commission, whether they're going to do all the commissioners or the chairman. That's where it sits right now.
So the HR director is gonna make suggestions on how we should go
Suggestion.
forward.
And contact you folks as to whether you want it pulled, whether you want to go forward, what you want to discuss from there, and what you want to review.
Okay.
I will call her and get a specific outline, and
I would entertain a motion if we wanted to put a period at the end of the sentence here, as far as the stop date.
What do you think? How have these applications come in? Have they been, spaced out equally, or all of a sudden last week? Last I heard there were 3, now there are 6. Did the other 3 come in all at one time?
there were 3 that came in last week. We had 3 that stayed that way for a while, and there was 3 that came in last week, I was told that.
And there's no deadline posted on the ad,
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
so August 15th would be just another week.
Again, again, whatever the motion is made, I'll, like I said,
Well, I'll make a motion to conclude all interviews not interviews, but the applications, response to them on August 15th, 2017.
second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I don't, I agree with putting a deadline on it, but I think we should go forward with the 6 people we have, but if anybody comes in the meantime, and I believe it says, and I haven't pulled it up yet, till the position's full. So while we're interviewing these people, if another applicant comes in that's qualified, I don't see a reason why we should turn them down if it's after the 15th.
Good point.
Well, the advertising was a timely situation, so in other words, if we stop advertising, certainly we're gonna stop getting responses to the ad, so. And I'm fully in agreement with what Jen just said, that's fine if someone comes in, certainly just because it's past our deadline, we don't wanna not consider them.
So you want to modify your motion to put a deadline on it, but with the deadline as far as the process goes, when an application comes in?
Leave it the way it is, except make it, instead of, to just stop advertising as of that date. Don't renew any ads past August 15th. And then I think the applications will taper off as well,
And the interview process is going to start when?
May I?
as soon as we're able to, I think.
Yep, sure, Rob, come right ahead, if you could.
I think you may need to start going through Norma at this point with the applications. Would that be true?
Pardon me?
Do you think that they should start going through Norma regarding the application process?
I thought it was in the HR hands, and that's where it started, and that's what
I know.
it says to do, so.
Okay. Can I just have 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
Oh,
Yes,
I have been advised that I need to recuse myself because I have also submitted an application.
Okay.
And passed this over to Norma.
So,
Okay.
that was my
by all means,
comment.
by all means.
So Norma can be helping you set up and work with Jessica. I agree with you, Mr. Gagner, I don't believe you did do a deadline, and I think that's prudent. At this point, what I think I'm hearing from you is that you're ready to start the interview process. So if you'd like, I can let let Jessica know that you're ready to go. I can ask her to start doing the scoring.
Interviews.
She's going to score them for you based on what the requirements you requested, and then we'll get those to you and set up. And she'll work with you to the chairman to set up the appointments. So my recommendation would be probably at your next meeting, we can have those ready, and we'll schedule them in to come in and be interviewed by you.
Okay, Jen, you have a question?
So it does say on the Town of Charlton website that this position will remain open until filled with review of applications as of July 24th, 2017.
So the review was suggested to start on the 24th. So what we're doing is, all right, is, we can move, we could just move
Start.
on that,
Sure.
without even making a motion.
Yes, sir. So I'll let Jessica know so that Steve doesn't get
Okay,
caught
fine,
into that, okay?
fine. Thank you.
Robin.
You're welcome.
Okay.
With this in mind, want me to just withdraw the motion I had?
Uh,
But we still do have to stop advertising at one point, or there's gonna be no end date. I'm afraid too, if you go too long, then the
agree.
original applicant, which might be a good one,
Exactly.
is gonna lose interest, find another job somewhere else. You
Or
know,
if something comes along and says, a bird in the
Yeah.
hand's worth
Yeah.
more than two in the bush. Okay, so want to make a motion to stop the ad at August 15th?
Yeah, I'll cancel the other motion, I'll make, and
Excuse me, Jen, do you accept the
I kinda
cancellation?
thought we had,
I did.
Yeah,
modified the first motion to, instead of interviewing people, to simply cancel the ads as of August 15th.
okay. Second on that?
Second?
All those in favor? Any discussion? Further discussion?
Yeah, well, with the modification, that if it's a monthly thing or a weekly thing, you know what I mean? But as of August 15th, don't renew anything else.
Gotcha, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. Steve, I see Mr. McClure is here if we wanted to start with him, or unless you got something that you want to just bring up.
New business, but we can get to that in order, whatever you choose, sir.
Okay, all right, why don't we get going here with Mr. McClure, if he's ready.
Okay, good evening. Double trouble here. Okay. For the record, Chris McClure, McClure Engineering. Just, I've submitted my agenda, so I intend to hit on all the points there, just, I guess it'll come in order as I present, unless,
Excuse me, Chris.
Sure.
Steve, this is the agenda right here?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
okay. Great. I guess I'll just go right down the line. I was here at the last meeting and obviously have been here for most of the meetings the past few months. The status of the design plans for the water system expansion, the permit application for the distribution system modification is in with the DEP. They have sent an email with some cursory comments on their review. They'll continue to basically review that and then send an approval letter or a request for additional information. And once all that information has been received satisfactorily to them, they'll issue the approval for that BRPWS 32. Again, that just includes the water lines, does not include the pump station designs at this point in time. So they're aware of that. They have agreed to allow the review of the pump stations to come in after the fact. So that's the status on the Kleinfelder is advancing on the pump station designs, and we expect to see a 60% design plan within the next couple of weeks here on that Route 169 pump station. As you're aware from last meeting, the hydrant flow test down in that area verified the pressures that we had seen in the past and basically support the design of that station going forward. The 169 pump station property status, if I could, I'm going to present to you, we had some comment back from town council relative to the configuration. This is a
I can share.
Oh, okay. This is a reconfiguration of that property line based upon those comments. And at issue was the access of the driveway for the residential / commercial property that this, that the pump station parcel would be adjacent to, and the, having a right-of-way across that. So basically, what you see here is a sketch-up of potential property line reconfiguration. We have vetted this through the zoning enforcement officer. Obviously, the lot that was being developed is going to need to go through ZBA, and this configuration would also need to be vetted. So as far as the process goes, it's really not going to delay that, but I wanted the commission to take a look at that so they're aware of that change from a previous revision that you have seen.
Don't fold up your Matt?
Sure.
Quite yet, Chris. Chris, what items are going to be going in front of the ZBA?
In front of the ZBA was, there's a 150-foot, well, there's this front yard setback, I guess, is going through the ZBA.
Right, you're supposed to be
And
40 feet, and you got
we're about 20,
28 or 30.
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
And then the frontage. In this case, the frontage in the zoning district is 150 feet. And with this reconfigured line, you can see that the only frontage that we'd have here is on Snake Hill Road at about 64.53 feet.
well, but clearly, the subdividing of this larger parcel into the smaller piece, the larger parcel certainly could give up frontage, so a frontage request would not be needed. Because what happens in front, is my understanding of the times that I've been in front of them, is there has to be a hardship. So the hardship is if in fact there's going to be, whether it's an agreed negotiation or taking, how do you fulfill that requirement that the ZBA members are required to base their decisions on as far as the hardship goes?
Again, I think this would be a municipal infrastructure, use for municipal infrastructure. I know there is a, I believe it was the last town meeting, there was some, let's say waivers, the zoning was changed so that the municipal infrastructure there were certain setbacks that they gave relief on.
Correct.
Okay, so I think that property line, again, it hasn't been done in this case, but I think at issue was the access in the right to pass, which would have been, if you can see where the driveway accesses this, the driveway for this property accesses across the front of this parcel that was going to be in the taking. I think that right to access across the town property was the sticking point with the council.
And again, I don't mean to prolong this, but, so, the original plan that was laid out is the town would be giving an easement to the original property owner to get from out in the street onto their property. So now what I see is happening is the property owner, who will then now own the total driveway, they're going to give this property owner an easement?
The property owner would give the
town of Charlton an easement?
Of Charlton an easement.
Versus going the other way where the town was going to give the property owner easement. Now that's not the way they want to, that's not the way they want to consider it.
Yeah, that's the intent at this point in
Yeah,
time.
if it passes the muster test of hardship. I don't see what the hardship is, but anyways. Welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, we're Mr. McLaurin, who's doing number 3 bullet, Route 169 pump station status.
Thanks, Chris.
And excuse me, has this gone to the other side, the
It has not.
buyer's attorney?
It has not. Basically, this is just a sketch up. If I had approval, I would, let Kleinfelder put their surveyor eyes on it and present a more definitive concept plan, so somebody could review it, other than, my Crayola markup.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Has the building location changed, or the configuration? Based on this new driveway?
No, based upon the new driveway, nothing else has changed. Basically, what I've done there is shown what was proposed as a fence line. This property line would basically be pushed into that fence line. The way that this lot is configured with the pump station and the drive access, and the LP
Yeah.
tank and the generator pad, due to the topography of the land, we're pretty much limited to how this pump station layout is going to go.
Okay.
So we have not changed the layout of the infrastructure or the driveway to the pump station with this. It's just a change in that
So,
front property line.
So you need that little jog?
actually, I'm sorry.
If I could just step up and kind of give you an idea.
On the backside of the pump station?
Yes, we do need that jog due to the, that's a private well.
Okay.
So we have an offset to that private well that we want to maintain as well.
What do you mean an
It's a
offset?
10-foot offset to a private well, property line to private well.
No, but why don't you just come straight up, just slide the pump station back a couple feet? I know, it doesn't work?
No, I mean, any changes in this pump station really gonna stop working against us. We have a UIC well that's gonna go behind here, an
Okay.
underground injection well. We'd be working,
Okay.
maybe some, fill that we'd have to address there. And obviously within any further back is closer to the riverfront.
Chris, while you're here, could you highlight for Gabe the entrance from
Yes.
from Route 169 and
Yep,
in the driveway?
It's basically,
yep,
perhaps this way.
okay.
So we're trying to
Alright, so that's
maintain-
still kind of in the grass there?
It's still kind of
Okay.
grass there, yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if the town is giving, if I understand what you were saying, the town is giving an easement to the property, does that mean we are now responsible for that area?
No, with this reconfiguration of property line, the current property owners would retain that driveway access. The property line, reconfigured property line would be red, and therefore the property owners would have to, there would have to be an easement right to pass in order to get to the pump station. First construction easement to do the work, and then a right to pass and a right to maintain the infrastructure for that pump station. Fences and, landscaping and the rest of that, so.
So
Thank
Jen, the sellers are now, it's reversed. The sellers are now going to give an easement to the town so they can pass over. What happens if the sellers choose not to maintain or snowplow that piece of property?
And then we would just plow it as normal to get to any other access to a pump station?
That would be the case, they would
Yeah.
have to. I mean, given that they need to gain access and that the town has a right to pass to get into that pump station, that would also allow them to, maintain it, i.e. Plow snow and the rest of that.
So that's going to have to be worked out in language with the two attorneys, the buyer's and seller's attorney.
Yeah, I'm assuming
Okay,
that would
just,
come
I
through the
guess,
rights, but
get
the
the
right to
thing done,
pass,
that's
right to
what's important.
maintain.
I think the ownership and the liability is the 16th this way compared to the other way before.
The ownership and the liability is what?
Well, if we own the property and let's say we didn't maintain it or sand it, they can
Yep.
come back after us that we didn't maintain it properly. This way, we can access it, we can sand it and plow
Right,
it to our terms, and it's not, well, you didn't maintain our access, that's why there was a car accident pulling out, so. I think they're both good ways, but I think this is a lot better way for the town.
They have to apply to the ZBA
Correct.
for,
If it goes.
for a frontage variance,
Does the Snake Hill Road count as frontage?
It does,
Okay.
but obviously not
but there's not
enough.
enough.
There's not enough, okay,
Not enough, but there is enough out 169,
correct.
so there's no hardship. That's why was the point I made earlier, but let them figure it out.
Okay. Chris, when can you, or do you still need, Because we don't own the property yet, when can you go to the ZBA?
Well,
Or can you get preliminary talks, so this thing isn't dead in the water, or?
yeah, yes, exactly. With the commission's approval to move, we will get this reconfigured property line completed, and then we'll have enough to go to the ZBA.
Okay.
Or at least get our building permit denied so that we could start that process.
Because we're not really a normal customer here. We are, but we aren't.
No, we still have to follow the rules, though.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but
Okay. If I may, the original plan, can we call that Plan A?
Yes.
And we call this Plan B?
Yeah.
Okay.
why can't we call this Plan A?
Well, because it came second. That's all. You want to call it Plan A, whatever. I'd like to nominate, well, first of all, had the commission approved the other plan, Chris?
I don't know if there's a formal approval. It had been discussed and vetted. We had talked about the, the reconfiguration of those side property lines. We talked about the requirement to go to ZBA due to the frontage setback. So what what would be helpful to me, just to ensure that we're all on the same page, is that tomorrow I'm going to call Charlie Tripp of Kleinfelder and said, get your surveyors on this reconfigured line. As long as we're all on the same page with it, I don't want to go back with another
Okay.
property line.
Going back to Plan A, was Plan A already surveyed out?
Both of these, well, the property has been surveyed. This property parcel A had been, set up. There's been no demarcation of this property configuration, so we haven't gotten the final, not to interrupt, but we haven't gotten the final plan to take to ZBA at this point, so I'm certain that they'll tell us they were just about done, but we have to go back to and really, it's just that front line that we'd have to address. And I do think they were working on, that survey was working on a easement at the time as well for that drive access.
Okay.
Because they're typically ones that define it, and then they take it to the council, and the council puts that into deeds, so.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion, and this is to, in case there's a fallout. I'd like to make a motion that the commission approves both Proposal A and Proposal B of the pump station. And the reason, and that would be it. And then the reason would be, is if something happens, then they can switch from B to A or A to B. And they don't have to come back, waste another week, 2 weeks. So I'm just trying to expedite this.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion?
I have a question. I guess I don't understand. So we're approving both plans, and it's up to them to decide which plan is going to work?
And the attorneys. This
Okay.
ball lies with the attorneys, between the buyer and the seller.
All
So
set.
that if in fact there is a problem, that, fine. Either way, the town of Charlton / Water Sewer Commission has sanctioned both of these plans to go forward.
Thank you very much.
In Plan B, we have a panhandle here now that would belong to the property owner as opposed to the town of Charlton. Did that affect any of the setbacks? Some of the setbacks, instead of coming from Route 169, now they're coming to the new boundary.
We did not meet the required setbacks to begin with, so the variance will be,
Just a higher amount, so it
Exactly.
didn't affect where we located the actual pump station. We didn't have to move it back toward the river.
no, we couldn't.
Okay.
Basically, we were holding that front line of the pump station due to the site constraints that we need to deal
Okay.
with, so. But again, the variance will be greater,
Right.
or higher level at that point, so.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimous.
Okay, great. Moving on, the tank mixers and SCADA system, as we discussed previously, the contract to install the SCADA and the mixers at the 160, at Mass Ave tank, and also the Hammond Hill tank, They had submitted 60% design plans. I had met with Kleinfelder as well as the town of Southbridge, the DPW, and the Water Department. We went through those 60% design plans. Mainly, it was discussion on where the SCADA was going to be sent to. The commission is aware that the SCADA system that gets set up down at the treatment plant, and we're assuming that's where it's going to be located.
Right.
We've agreed to that, correct?
Yep.
That is only going to be there will be no user interface with that system.
Substation.
Yes, it'll basically just be a review of the conditions of the tank levels. There'll be no user interface, basically. And at which time any of that changes, we could obviously reprogram those so that it's a touchscreen that you could interface.
Okay, next question. Okay.
Yeah.
So we would have full visibility of the system. It's just we would have no control over the system because we don't control the system. But
From the Mass Ave tank
Yeah,
into Charlton. You wouldn't see obviously you wouldn't see the water
Right.
plant, but you would see Mass Ave tank, pump station, the two Charlton tanks. Basically, that's what it'd be.
and the addition of these mixers, this is going to be mixer number 2 and number 3, because they already put one mixer in play.
Yes, they have, well, as far as in town here, the Charlton tank, the 750,000 gallon Charlton tank has a mixer in.
Right, but
Southbridge has, I'm not certain, I know that they installed the mixer at their
and that's what I'm talking about,
the water treatment plant, yeah.
at the treatment plant.
I don't know how many other mixers they
Yeah,
have.
and that one
in
made a
other
big
tanks.
difference. So this, again, now you're doing Mass Ave and, yeah, okay.
In Hammond Hill,
Good.
so hopefully that continues to improve the water quality. And relative to that, just, and I know that after this meeting, in the meeting to discuss the mixer and the SCADA system, I did note that the blow-off in town is running. I was told that it's running at a rate of about 3 gallons a minute, so very low rate. As the residual was coming down a little bit, but it seems to be maintaining with that 3.5. And additionally, a discussion of the average daily flow into town. Mr. Gregoire did indicate that they were seeing an average of between 130 and 140,000 gallons a day, which is a nice uptick in what has been reported to us previously. Previously, we'd hear about those days being peak, but in the past, I guess he said the past few months, it's been an average of 130 to 140, so. That obviously makes a difference as to when potentially the Charlton water tank could come online, and the flow path and the flow within town would change. The hydraulics of the water system would change at that point in time, so. Just figured I'd keep you up to date on what I know about that.
The mixers are scheduled to go online when?
The 60% design plans are approved. We heard that they were hoping to have the 90%, which once those are approved, is basically allowed to go into construction. So we're supposed to be seeing those within a week. So by mid-August, the biggest issue there is getting power from up to the Mass Ave tank, which they don't have electrical lines currently up at that tank. So, but it is scheduled to happen this construction season, was what I'm being told. So by November, they should be online.
Are they doing that when they install those VFDs?
Actually, the VFDs were installed last week.
Oh, nice.
So they're currently running on a 15-second delay cycle, so they're not really seeing much. They're seeing a little, market improvement in the slamming of the system and that potential hammer, but they're going to see if that, extending that startup and shutdown would improve that even more. Kleinfelder has requested to, Kleinfelder had their pressure recorders out prior to the hydrant testing that was done most recently, and they had requested, once these VFDs go in, if they could put those pressure recorders back on the same hydrants to see if,
Been improved.
yeah, the overall system improves, because the only pressure variance Southbridge sees is obviously at the pump station. When those pumps come on and off, they have a pressure gauge right there that's recording that, so. So hopefully that makes a difference, but that was done the week of August 4th, which was last week. Okay. So that takes us out of the first category and into the second one, and we have yet to see the results of oh, actually, I can't go there yet. I have to go back to the school loop, specific to the actual school, the water system, the piping configuration down,
Thank you.
down in the areas of schools. So, as I have discussed, and as the commission has repeatedly expressed their concern relative to stagnation or retention time in the water line during the summer.
Blow-offs.
And, basically have blow-offs, yes. So, I had spoken with Kleinfelder and expressed the need for review of that area to ascertain the water age and how that would translate into the potential need for blow-offs there. So the diagram you see here, so to bring you up to speed with that, Kleinfelder has, they're back under contract with Dewberry. They've asked Dewberry to present the overall, go back to their water age analysis that they had presented back in 2014, see how long that water would be in the pipes in there, and come up with an idea of how much water would need to be blown off in order to keep that water fresh. That is if the two PRVs set on Muggett Hill Road and Morton Station Road were installed and used to monitor pressure. We also talked to Southbridge Water Department about this, and again, I expressed the concern of the commission and ideas relative to keeping the water moving down in this area, i.e. in the summer, which we had discussed here, is bypassing the PRVs and adjusting the gates in the system to direct water around the loop and up towards, to Masonic Home being the ultimate end user, basically the end of the straw. The parties involved are warming up to this idea. Obviously, the reissue of water age and blow-offs is, it continues to rear its ugly head. And so, the Southbridge Water Department's concern was, okay, so if we do bypass the PRVs, what's the number of potentially affected residences there, i.e., they're okay with having water pressure at these residences up to 150 psi, and that's basically their cutoff point.
Excuse me, say 150 pounds?
When pushed relative to
Really?
the absolute maximum pressure that they would allow a tap to go in, they said that 150 would be the absolute cutoff. So whether we put pressure, a conservative pressure on there at 140, but what I've asked for is, okay, and what you can see here is not the number of properties that are over 140, over 125. These are a number of properties that were originally set to, anything over 100, we're gonna be in this low-pressure loop. So, what I have asked of Client Bill is they present us with whatever properties they feel might be excluded due to this 150 PSI maximum pressure. And I think, going back to Mr. Lemanski's comment, is that Southbridge is really looking to work with us, with the town, in order to decrease the need for blow-offs and keep this water moving. You know, it's, again, it's not the first time I heard, but, you know, we're really saying that the commission isn't backing down on this. So we need to come up with an idea. It may not be conventional to the operation of the water system, but due to the unconventional nature of this system as a whole, we need to put our collective heads together and come up with an idea that's gonna work. So,
Now, Chris, did the are these final drawings?
well, these are.
Because they're at DEP and stuff now, right?
Yes,
Okay.
but, changes due to operational issues would have to go back in front of them, but they wouldn't go to the point, basically what the DEP understands the water system as a whole. The comments we're getting now are basic operational comments, because it really is just water line we're talking about here now, so, as long as you're using the correct type of line, you're gating these things correctly, so we might have to go back to, you know, have an additional review, but, it's really not gonna set this project. I don't believe it would set it back too far. It's just saying, hey, based upon the issues that we're seeing here, and based upon hydraulic, you know, this water rate study that's been conducted, we need to,
Yeah,
Come
well,
up
that's
with this
basically what I'm
50.
saying, is I just don't want to be stuck, you know, that, hey, it's already submitted, it's already passed in, you know, now, you know, we can't do nothing, so.
we wouldn't be put in that position. We would
Okay.
obviously have to go back, you know, another bite at the apple, but, you know, again, based upon.
And it ain't gonna stop everything else.
Right.
Okay.
So, so this is, obviously, we need to take a look at the overall water line configuration down at the school, whether it's a tighter loop, whether it's
Double pipe?
double pipe would be at the Morton Station. What is a tighter loop, whether it's a smaller line, you know, a 6 versus an 8, there might be a couple of, you know, options in addition to what we're talking about is reconfiguring the system to, and we've talked about this in the summer, but it may be that once, in the process, while you're getting all the services connected, you may need to run this. It may be that the system needs to run this way into the foreseeable future. So have the ability to direct it whichever way that you need to, traditionally with the PRVs, you know, on this lower section. But with this bypass and the configuration of the gates, it may be that, you know, the way that the water system is running with Masonic Home at the end, we don't know. That may be how you have to run it for, again.
If there was a homeowner in the area who was uncomfortable with such high pressure, a single stop or single home pressure reducer valve can be put on the home so that if they wanted preferred 60 or 70 pounds rather than 110, that could be installed.
85 is basically the point where Southbridge Water comes in and says you need to have a PRV on this, regardless of the fact they're allowing you to connect.
Right.
They do have an 85 PSI requirement that the homeowner puts on their line at their connection within their house, so that the water pressure doesn't get above that. And we've seen that in different parts of town.
Okay, so then that way there, it doesn't blow faucets apart and
Yeah.
things
What
like
we're
that.
talking about is operationally, it's
Right.
just the safety of the water department, when they get to a certain pressure, they just don't want to, or the
Right.
potential for, you know, if you have a leak, you know, even if it's a small leak at a corp stop, at such high pressures, it turns into something, you know, could turn into something bigger very easily, so.
So the conclusion is Dewberry's working on this.
Dewberry is working on it.
Okay.
And the items that may need to come up to you folks is shortening up the loop to serve the two schools. Currently, the water lines are going down the access drives. If it needs to go, I think we have to pull out all stops on this,
So where's it going now, Chris? It's coming down the main access road here, the long one, right?
Yeah, if I can just show you on, this was a plan that they had pulled off when they were doing the original water range. Let me just show you on this.
Sorry to bring this up again, but.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's a lot of pipe.
Yep.
Obviously, I mean, again, not obviously, but we would look at whether a 6-inch through that loop would suffice. They're not gonna be able to provide fire protection down in that area.
But both of the schools already have fire protection of their own.
Well, the middle school has it, the Heritage School, what they have is, they have just 2 hydrants.
2 hydrants.
Yeah, the other school has fire pumps and a 100,000-gallon storage tank.
Okay. And do 8s there would be good, but we can't.
Again, I guess we could take a look at what that overall volume is and that reduction in volume and what they expect to, what they would expect to have for blow-offs, if that's the case. I mean, if you want to keep, that's the type of input I need. If you're adamant about 8, then we won't look at the 6. If we're looking at any and all avenues to reduce the volume of water down in that area, then I want to ensure that we keep everything on the table.
With different pressure fluctuations and PRVs or whatnot, is there any natural way, and I mean natural, I mean non-like mechanical pumps or, whatever, to get that water to flow using different pressures? You know what I mean? Like the small, so okay, all the pipes are in, and then you got a 2-inch that comes back, and you know what I mean? The pressures are different, so it naturally pulls a little, you know what I'm saying, a little bit of water through.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the, this figure, you're really in a situation there where you have that, pressure gradient because you're down in that.
Yeah,
hole,
we're at the lowest
for lack
point,
of-
too.
Yeah, that you're really not gonna be able to, pretty much stuck with that water unless you have a draw, that draw that we're talking about, that would occur with Masonic Home Online. So, again, when we're looking at that is, if we bypass the PRVs, because the PRVs only allow water to go one way, right? So we have to bypass those and then reconfigure the lines. So basically, it's a line, Morton Station for one, so that the water would actually be valved, so it goes down into the Charlton Middle School, hits the Heritage School, comes back up the Oxford Road, and out to Morton Station, without a 4-way T, basically, is what we would traditionally design there. So we're gonna either have to, put a double barrel in, or gate configure it so that we can isolate the water to go in that one direction. And then when we get up to Old Worcester Road, North Main Street, Masonic Home Road, is that 8-inch that comes up there, which we traditionally would tie into the main that's coming down North Main Street. We need to bypass that and run that water line up Masonic Home to feed the overlook.
I had it going the other way, but that's fine.
Well,
Same thing happens.
yeah,
It's good.
and again, when we start looking at what the valves and that
Right, yeah.
configuration be, it might be that
Yeah,
it comes back the other way. You may pull it quicker because you have Bay Path and the Town Hall and North Main Street going that way. So we'll look at both of those, but
yeah.
that's,
As long as we have that option, because we don't want to get a system to where we're stuck with no alternative other than throw water on the ball fields down there at whatever the cost of the water is, because, we can't meet the standard of 1.0.
I'm in agreement 100%.
Okay, so I just wanted the commission to know that that is, that discussion is forthcoming, and they're working on it.
Do you need anything from us?
No.
Or is it understood?
No, I mean, based upon my discussion with the folks, Kleinfelder, they're cognizant of the issues that are occurring in the water system, they have been, so with this, I said, there's no way, we need to come up with this plan, either convince them that there won't be any blow-offs, or come up with a plan that is going to address movement of water down in that area, so. Unless Dewberry comes back and is gonna guarantee that water will stay moving, without blow-offs, then we're gonna, we'll be working on this next phase. Okay. School Loop 233, Stafford Street, status, final plan review. So I believe, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, the commission has a copy of the final design plans for 232 Stafford Street. These plans are a culmination of efforts to get that service up.
This isn't done yet?
Excuse me?
This isn't done yet?
Exactly.
Well, it will be with a vote from the commission tonight to approve these final design plans and request that Steve issues a letter that memorializes that vote. I have reviewed the final design plans. They have incorporated all of the recommendations, suggestions, and if you look down at the bottom of page C1, you'll also see that they were very accommodating with a request from the fire department to install a hydrant over on Timber Valley Road, which there was never a hydrant there before. That obviously pleases the fire department, in addition to the water operator that aids in flushing in an area that they never had a flushing hydrant for, but it won't be a flushing hydrant, it'll be an actual hydrant.
So that's at that intersection of the
Yeah.
bottom center there.
Yeah. So that'll be installed as part of this project as well.
Now, if I may, Mr. Chairman, the plan that came through at 5:10 tonight, were the water line sizes changed from 4 then to 2? Or were they always 2, or were they always 4? Or,
No, the ductile, if you recall, they were gonna run individual services off of Stafford Street.
yeah, that was nuts, yeah.
Yeah, and so we came back with the 4-inch ductile iron with individual service connections. The only service connection that's a 2-inch would be to feed
The existing house
the
up there.
existing house, and that was at the request of the homeowner. The rest of them are gonna be standard 1-inch copper services that are provided, whether they just put stubs into the proposed property lines, which are existing curb stops, I'm assuming is gonna happen, and then they'll have the ability, once these houses get built, to tie them in, as you typically would a house that has a water service connection. And then there was an addition of that flushing hydrant, which we have talked about utilizing based upon comment and review of the fire department on all of our dead ends, this single port flushing hydrant, which would give a consistent flushing hydrant in town. Currently, we don't have.
That's at the top of the turnaround?
That's at the top of the turnaround, yes.
Okay.
Chris, if you don't mind me asking, I believe I'm reading this right, is all these water services going right up the property lines?
They will go, the curb stops will stop where the proposed, property
and
lines would be.
Well, they'll stop in the what do you call it, the cul-de-sac, right? They'll be
No,
on-
well, actually, you can see where, if we look at the first, where it says E1, they'll be stubbed off to where this subdivision, this proposed subdivision has been delineated.
Okay. Isn't there, there's not a rule, I thought Southbridge had a rule, you gotta keep them so far off a property line.
So far off the property line,
Yeah.
as far as,
Because if you ever had to go back and fix it or something like that, and the neighbor don't let you fix it because you're half digging up his yard.
well, let me see here.
I mean, it's not a big deal, you just move, it looks like you got plenty of room, you just move it over a little bit. That's my only 2 cents,
Okay.
is, I thought there was like a 5 or 10, any time I've installed a water line, it's usually a 5 or 10-foot rule, so.
So these, I mean, obviously, we'll ensure that these are installed to Southbridge specification. If they say, hey, don't put them on the property line, keep them in
Yeah.
this utility easement right away, or the right of way for this subdivision, then that's what they'll do. Usually it's right on that line, Gabe.
Yeah, because it's usually, it looks like it's only the 2 top lots anyways, the rest they're all pretty good. But anyways, I mean, that's just, to me, it's common sense, so, but,
Yeah, so that top lot is obviously gonna be connected to the municipal water, that's
Yeah.
where the existing house is, they'll bring that right in, but you're right, that service corp could come a little bit closer to
yeah,
that proposed cul-de-sac there.
just double check
Okay.
that, so.
Has Southbridge and Heather approved these?
Yes, I spoke with Steve this afternoon, because I obviously wanted to see if they had any issue with them. And his only comment was that, based upon the design letter, the final design letter, you know, that may be, you know, they're right at that, if you look at page 3 or 4, they're right at that, pressure of the house is gonna be right at that 30,
You know,
34, 35.
34.62 or something like that?
So, and it is typical when they pull an application, they say you should probably, the recommendation is to have a booster pump, because you're not gonna be happy with your second
Yeah, second floor.
floor pressures. So, basically, that's all, that was the only comment Steve had. Everything else, again, this has been vetted through both the town entities once or twice before.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the plan as presented and reviewed by McClure Engineering of St. Mary's Way.
I'd just like to add, subject to that there's no property line violation, no property line setbacks as far as the proposed design.
I'll second that.
I'll accept that.
Got a motion, we got a second? Anybody did you second it?
Yep.
I second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes unanimous.
If I could just request that an office, the letter is issued out of your office to, consistent with the one that we presented on there.
Yep. Yeah, just
Concept
contact
design.
Steve and,
Okay.
or Norma or whatever, and they can draft that.
Very good. Okay.
Excuse me, Chris,
Sure.
on that letter, do we give Steve permission to sign on the commission's behalf, or do you want to have your signature on that?
No, Steve we all voted on it, we all approved it. It's just a acceptance letter of the
Okay.
proposed plans,
Good?
so you don't have to create extra steps. Robin?
Before you move on to your other things, while you're still on excellence, can I approach?
Next contestant, come on down.
First, I want to say thank you to Chris for all the work he's done on the Exxon piece. He's done a lot of moving and shaking. I'm coming up because I'd like to ask you to reconsider your vote, an earlier vote you just took. I was thinking about it, and I think that, one, I'd like to hear whether or not the commission is willing to, and it's to do with the A and B thing. So town council has recommended strongly that you do not take ownership of that, and I think that you just voted to approve both plans. I think if you do that, then you're once sending the wrong message that you would accept ownership of that property and the driveway. So what I want to check in with you is, if you actually if you accept the Plan A and you say, well, we'll take either one. If you accept the Plan A, then you become responsible for that driveway. You become responsible for all of the patronage that goes into Stearns, coming in and out. If there's an accident at that corner coming out, you also are going to rely on a third party that you have no direct supervision over, because I believe that your pump stations are taken care of by Southbridge. So if something actually happens on that property where you're giving an easement and guaranteeing that they will be able to pass versus the other way, you're going to be relying on Southbridge to keep that open, because I don't believe that you do that. So I would strongly recommend that you revote that and only approve the one with you not owning it and you giving an easement to it. If something happens, as Mr. Lemansky, and I appreciate that Mr. Lemansky was trying to, be proactive so we didn't have to come back. But I think that,
I think the intention was to, basically, if the ZBA doesn't approve this, that you don't have to come back to us and slow the process down.
but I
So
think the
if we-
better thing is for us to have to come back, because I think it sends the wrong message to ZBA and the owner that the board is okay with owning that. And I really think that because of the liabilities, I don't think that you should be okay with owning that. So I think if it happens that the ZBA doesn't vote it, or the homeowner has an issue, I think we should come back and have a fuller conversation about it. I don't think you
Well,
should
what's our
just.
other option? Isn't there the only two options? I mean,
Well,
and I'm really just throwing this out there because
I think it's one option, and it's not to own that driveway.
what I'm getting at, though, is if the ZBA doesn't allow us to do it, if we get a preliminary, yes, we'll allow it, just go forward, I'd be all for it. But if we don't have an okay that we can go forward, it's basically just it's the only other option.
I understand that, I'm just thinking that and I think you may know where I'm going, by voting it that way, it makes it harder to move it forward, saying this is the preference, this is based on town council. If you've already voted the other one you would accept, then it's harder to try and push the first one, is all I'm asking. So I'm just asking, I think the intent is correct, as you're saying, to give you both options, but I think for the purposes of trying to move this forward, I think you only want.
If I recall, Jim Cosgrove's letter, the very last sentence, I think he said, was, well, we can't leave it up to the engineers. I believe that's what he said. The third plan would be, is if we went with, if the town went with Plan A, and they had this driveway, then call it a town way, then make the highway come in and plow it just like they would a town street, becomes a town street. You have all of the liability coverage in a street as you do on this new private way. It wouldn't be a
Why
private
would we
way.
want to take on all that extra liability?
First of all, is we need that location.
I mean, then,
Well, we need that location, all right? And it's,
I get if we'd have to, but why would we want to?
how much liability is there?
Huge.
It's
huge.
well, we already have 40, what do we got, 43 miles of road in town? What's another 300 feet? If that's, it's not
But
even 300
it's not a
feet.
public way, it's an awkward
No,
way
you're
to get
making a
out,
public
it's
way.
really
Make it
a
a public
bad.
way.
But you're talking about the first 500, not even 500
No,
feet.
no, it's probably only two, if.
It's like 100.
It's 150, 200 feet tops.
I
And the other
just,
thing
I
is,
I don't recommend that you do
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Town council doesn't recommend that you do it. It's an awkward way to do it, and I'm sure if the highway surveyor was here, superintendent was here, he would be not recommending that. It just, I think you just take on more liability for that corner.
Let me ask a quick question.
it's,
Chris, with the bridge easement there, can we do an access road off of that?
No.
Why?
Well, first and foremost, you have two electric and telephone utilities, basically right adjacent to Snake Hill Road. And if you look at the topography of that land,
Yes.
it just wouldn't be an easy You're talking about coming off of,
Yeah, why couldn't you just come straight in here?
drops down quite a bit there.
Well, it's called bulldozers and excavators and stuff, and you make roads and you dig
But that would
dirt.
take a town meeting vote too,
Yeah, that'd
to
take
do
a
a
lot
new
of money.
road.
What's that?
No,
the
I'm
road?
just thinking about what
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Lemansky had
Well,
suggested, that
no,
take a
again,
town
you make it a
meeting.
private
You've got to do a
well,
layout.
Subdivision road.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Subdivision.
this easement, it's for their construction, but it's kind of it's not a fictitious thing, but it kind of is. Right?
I don't know what the intention of that was at the time. I mean, it just seems.
What does he mean?
Yeah, maybe when the two lawyers ever talk, which hopefully they're gonna talk soon, they can get this all ironed out and everybody's happy.
That's what I'm hoping, but
I'm
I'd still
hoping-
rather not have a vote of the board saying that you would accept the ownership at this time. I just think it makes it harder to negotiate and move forward. Because I think that our first step out is saying, we're going by what town council recommends. Look,
I don't know, this would have been access off of Snake Hill Road, it just,
I kind of agree with that.
What's that?
With, now it kind of puts us in a
Option
liability.
1, 2, 6, 7?
No, and I guess that goes back to my, question is we don't wanna be in control of that. Like, we don't wanna be responsible, so, I'm not quite sure like what,
It's a catch-22 because you want ownership of your property so you can access it and make changes and do your stuff. But on the same token, you don't want the liability of
We
something,
don't,
you know,
don't need ownership of this, you just need an access.
you know what I'm saying? You want, what's that?
We're just gonna need, I make a motion, that we rescind Mr. Lemansky's earlier motion and restrict, and make the same motion again, restricting our wording to just Plan B.
second.
I guess, open for discussion.
Yeah,
The
discussion.
thing that kind of rubs me is that it's okay for us to give them, it's okay for them to give us an easement, but we wouldn't give them an easement if we owned it. Because what we're saying here is, originally, the town was going to own the land, and the town was going to give an easement to the sellers of the property. So now what they want to do is switch it. They want to switch it to where the owners of the land own the driveway, and now they're going to give the town, water department, whatever, an easement. What about their liability?
So I think that there's two issues here. One is that they have a business, they have lots of people going in and out, and they should be maintaining that road to their satisfaction, and we should not be interfering in that. Secondly, I think that it's also important that you recognize your limitations, which is you have no control over who's plowing that. So Southbridge is doing it. If Southbridge does a poor job, it's going to be you guys that are getting those calls from Stern saying, hey, my road's not good enough, they haven't put the salt down. So I think it's in their best interest to have control of that whole road so they can make sure that it's done adequately for the customers, and it's consistent.
And, wait, 1 second, 'cause just while I got this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm on the track.
Yeah,
okay?
it's fresh, you gotta get it out.
Right, why in the purchase and sale agreement that if the town buys the corner, the town owns the driveway, and they say to the Stearns is, look, you've got to maintain the driveway to your satisfaction, period. So to make them responsible for maintaining their own driveway, and any of our people who are going to go down there, they're already in a four-wheel drive truck. I mean, if there's snow and ice, they don't care. Okay, and the thing is, and again, I still
And
think.
they're only going to go down when they need to get in there. So if
Exactly.
they don't have to go in there, they're not going to go down there for a
Right,
month.
so then make Stearns responsible for the plowing and sanding of that. If you have that in an agreement, then if anything happens there, since they were responsible for the maintenance, then they're responsible. Because I still think, as I said earlier,
But I don't think that's what the agreement was with them. I think that they were expecting you to keep
that's why
that
you
open.
said-
Yeah, but you
and
can
talk
always
about it.
go back to that.
well, no, you can sit down and talk to them about it.
Again,
I still
it's
don't-
about ownership, Mr. Mlemansky. We're not there, you're not going to be going down there very much. You want them to have control and ownership. And
if you look at it this way, Stearns is getting property back, so I don't think that they're going to, not like this plan. They're not going to lose their driveway now. They keep their driveway and we just get access over it.
As I said earlier, I don't think you're going to meet the standards for a variance because there is no hardship.
I think the hardship is that they would be losing their driveway.
No, they
I
don't,
think
no,
that's-
because in the agreement, they would be getting the driveway back.
That's one of the reasons why I'm recommending that you only do approve B,
Right, well,
based on town council's
Okay.
recommendations. And I would tell them that, based on town council's recommendations, he's not suggesting that we own the property, the driveway, therefore it is a hardship on both.
my hardship point is that the ZBA application is going to say we need a variance from the frontage setback because we can't we have to build a building a certain size. We can't put it any further back because we'll be in the Red River, i.e. we're short by 12 or 15 feet. Fine, you got a hardship. Then the hardship's going to be in saying is you're going to create a lot with no frontage, and then one of the members says, well, geez, you got 6 acres of land here and 700 feet of frontage. Why can't the owner chop off 150 feet of frontage to meet the requirement? I don't see a hardship. I know if I was on that variance board, that's one of the things that I may say, is you don't meet that requirement. I can't, in good faith, vote for that variance, because it's not, the hardship's not there. I think we should let the lawyers try to work this out. But anyways, I'm only one person. Got a motion on the floor.
Mr. Chair. So going back to the purchase and sale agreement that we got copied on from July 26th, it is from Mr. Cosgrove, and he kind of reiterated what you just said, Robin, is that the deed should, first blush, the deed should exclude the driveway area, and the town should just have a perpetual easement over the portion located on the premises, and the seller should remain responsible for all maintenance, repair, clearing of snow, etc., if possible. So I don't know if that will help, but, I mean, that kind of goes back, and knowing, in my opinion, knowing that town council would not be in favor of Plan A, I fully support the motion of Mr. Gadd.
And if something happens with ZBA, we'll come back.
What's that?
If something happens with ZBA where they don't approve it, we'll come back.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll go with aye.
I'm a no. Okay, it passes.
Thank you.
Get it done. But the lawyers, to my knowledge, still haven't talked.
They haven't. We've been holding back until we could get this redone and brought to you and get it approved, because the last thing we want to do is keep going back and forth with changes.
Thank you for
Thank you.
bringing that to our attention.
Chris, you want to take your big copy back before I make a change of road? So I can rarely see those grades and figure it out.
Yeah, you design it.
I just, and our Plan B location is where? Stop laughing.
Plan B?
Yeah, we'll move on.
Plan B, yeah, Plan B.
Yeah.
You're the one that's named them. I prefer 1 and 2, but I'm a numbers guy.
Go ahead.
What is that on the corner there, Chris? What was it, like a transformer or something?
Yeah, there's a telephone line and another transformer. Telephone, you know that switch box?
Yeah.
See Verizon over there.
You know what I'm saying though, right?
Yeah.
So,
Seems like a long haul in to get where something's already,
listen,
I'm with you.
I agree 100%.
So you're taking up too much time already here, Mr. McClure.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Great. Water system master plan status, we're still waiting to hear back from the, that hydrant flow test. Contacted Beta just to see where that was. Obviously, we'd like to, with Kleinfelder having the pressure loggers. We'd like to see with the, how that additional flow testing went. So that's all I have until we get that. I won't have any further comment.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if I'm not mistaken, Wednesday will be 3 weeks. What's taking them so long?
I've
This is insane.
I've let them know that I was coming in front of you folks, and I typically like to give you an update because
Yep,
I
okay.
don't like to be the one, bearing the brunt of it, so I'll stay on them about it. Berry Corner Road, water line project status, that's, town of Southbridge has chosen Ty and Bond to be the review engineer there. I think I gave you a heads up that was gonna happen. And they have been, requesting information, from the various town departments, road standards, Board of Health information, blah, blah, blah. So, you'll be able to stay up to date as you start seeing information come through there. The East Charlton Water System grant discussion, that grant application was submitted on Friday, so we expect, I had asked Andrew Lowe how soon that typically gets turned around as far as getting a determination, and it's 6 to 8 weeks. He said it actually happens pretty quickly because they like to, if they're going to award that money, that construction is supposed to start the following year, so they want to allow the communities to get their bid documents together and everything else, so we expect to hear something. And
Chris,
then,
if we decide to go down the other way, down the Oxbow Road there,
yes,
does that grant still allow us, or is it kinda?
I think once that application gets through, the key, there's that section along Route 20, a water line extension needs to occur regardless.
Yep.
So discussion could be had whether or not, that grant is gonna take, is really for installing water line into Route 20, right? So, if they grant the money to make that connection, we had originally designed a 12-inch. There's some changes that we were looking at, but Andrew said that there's some discussion can be had once
Okay.
that's allocated. I think it's premature until we hear back, and if we do, then you folks could say, well, we want to review this other
Yeah, just
scenario.
want to see the flexibility in it. If we come back and say, hey, it's 1.2 million to run it down this road, or it's, 2.8 million to run it down this road, it only makes, you know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
benefits don't outweigh the money. That's all I'm saying.
The other piece there is, we're looking at the roadway reconstruction. We had put the water line in where we felt was the best based upon the existing configuration of the road, and that's gonna be changed, so obviously, we don't want to, if the existing configuration puts that water line in the middle between the two traffic lanes, we don't.
Correct.
We prefer not for that to happen, so.
Okay.
There would have to be some adjustments in there.
Does this grant, Chris, does this include the Oxford section of it too, or is it only the Charlton portion of it, and Oxford has to do their own?
No, it includes the Oxford section as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, and then lastly, is my accounting section of the night. This is my last discussion item. The McClure has a general engineering service agreement with the commission. As part of that, I have broken down individual projects that I'm working on. The water system expansion, the Exxon Mobil support, I have reached my limit on the original agreement. So when I hit that point, I'd like to get the commission to approve additional funds going forward. I will tell you that and I know it's always a source of funding, and maybe Robin could comment on this section of it, but I will tell you that I had received payment on my bills that were sent out in June, and they, from.
ExxonMobil?
Yes. So,
Yeah, because the ones in regards to oversight,
and actual, additionally, the review of the plans, the notice of intent filings,
Yep.
the rest of them, so,
yeah, that was supposed to be paid by Exxon and not come out of our, $100,000 a year. So,
So basically, these funds are being reimbursed to McClure through that source.
okay,
Obviously, it's not giving me a green light, but and if we compile our billing
so what,
and our invoices.
what'd you do before, Chris? We signed off on it and Steve shipped it out to clients?
Exactly.
Okay.
I want to ensure that I have an agreement with the commission, and then at that point in time to say, hey, you're watching what, I'm doing
Okay.
here. And then, I'd like to approval on another, an additional 25,000.
Mr. Chair, so am I to understand all of these services are going to be paid by somebody else?
That's how I'm interpreting it. Chris?
That,
Can I just take a look at it?
sure.
Working with some of these people there.
This is just for Exxon, right, Chris?
Yes, yeah, this is for the expansion. At this point, it's going to be the pump station review, the final SCADA, we're getting to the point where I can see whatever comes out of the water line, the BRP permit application from the state. It'll be the pump station review for Bay Path and Sonic and Route 169, the final SCADA mixers, and then we should, at that point, they should be at the point where they're going through, putting their construction bid documents together.
So I guess, Mr. Chairman, all of these efforts are not part of the annual $100,000 inspection fee?
I believe no. We have
So what
clarification.
these are just fees that Exxon has agreed to pay? Robin, where does that lie, if I may ask?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question.
These duties that Chris has outlined here, it doesn't fall under, the actual, engineering inspection. It falls under, again, part of the, I guess, part of the general approval. Is Exxon responsible for that?
My understanding is that in the IMA, that you have monies that they have agreed to, the 100,000 that you're talking about, once construction's completed. We've also had a conversation with them that it's in their best benefit to make sure that they're paying for these timely so that we can move this through. So they have agreed to do that.
So
So what I will do is
This is-
send this up to them. And Chris has been great. He's been detailing his billing, so that Exxon is really seeing the benefit that they're getting by having him provide and work on your
Okay.
behalf.
So what you're saying is this is funded by outside of our funds?
That's why I wanted to
Correct.
take a look at it. So yes,
Okay.
in my opinion, right now, the scope of work he's given you will be paid by Exxon.
Okay. Make a motion, we approve this as presented.
Got a motion and a second?
I'll second it.
All those,
Question, so are you recommending that we send this to someone else before we approve it? Is
No,
that-
I'm recommending that you approve it and that we'll take care of it. What we're doing right now is just to make sure we can stay clear because we're doing the grants also. And I'm really trying to keep tabs on which project Chris is working on. Kara is interfacing with, Kara in my office is interfacing with Exxon. So I'll have her forward this to them and say that, they've expanded another $25,000. This is what his estimate is. If they want any backup documentation with him or estimates, we'll get that, but I will get kind of the stamp of approval.
Okay,
okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes unanimous.
Great. And he's been doing a good job, thank you. Again, all right. Are you gonna have them sign it tonight?
Yeah, I'd like that to happen, so keep my accountant happy.
We only need to sign
And
one,
then I
right?
can forward it up.
Yeah, just
Just
one would be
sign
fine,
this
yeah.
Do we all need to sign it, just,
Well, if we all
Jim.
sign, no harm.
Just sign it, you're here. Screw with the pen. Ride together, we die together.
thank you, Robin.
Plus, I can keep that signature, might be worth it someday.
that's the bubbling out someone's stomach.
Why do I have to be on the top? Nice, all right, next. Move on.
Anything else, Chris?
Yeah, just lastly, I guess, at the reorganization, and I just want to be clear, because there are going to be some additional signatures that I'm going to need for this project, relative to approvals, and I know when Mr. McKenzie was the chairman, the commission voted to have him sign off on forms, applications on behalf of the commission. Has that authority been,
Mr. Chair, it's on the new business item number 2.
My recollection of this, Chris, is that we gave permission for the chair to sign, and we didn't put a name on it, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I'm not certain myself, Mr. Gagnon, so I wanted to ensure that, I don't want to have the issue come up after a signature, if it was in fact the chair that has the authority to sign
We
off.
can just do it again, it's not a big deal.
I do have an access agreement that I'm gonna need signed, so that's why
Like, what stuff are you talking about, Chris?
it's like in one case, it's a National Grid application. You know, let's just take a step back with the VRP permit application was going to the Mass DEP, the applicant has to sign off on it as a town, as a Water and Sewer Commission is.
So I would just say this one caveat. In all efforts,
Sure.
the board needs to sign off on it, but if it's an emergency type situation, you know what I mean, where
Sure.
time is of the essence and it
Right.
doesn't seem to, that would be my own caveat. I want to keep this open and, this isn't my ship, this is our ship.
Sure.
So, that's my only recommendation, is just try and, most of the time we have time for things. So obviously sometimes we don't, but.
Right.
That's just my 2 cents, and if you guys want to put any limits on it, by all means.
Chris, do you recall the wording of the last motion? That as far as what items were, or what umbrella was listed?
I believe it was, applications of forms associated with the water line extension. That's the only thing I'm really interested in is I have a easement information form that National Grid needs signed off. So they can start looking, it takes a while to get power to properties, they can start looking at this, they just want to have.
Well, and the other thing too, Chris, is so everybody kind of understands what's going on here too.
Sure.
You know what I mean? If I just kind of sign off a bunch of stuff behind the scenes,
Right,
then nobody really, you get what I'm saying? Nobody really sees. Not that I don't mind,
Right.
Sure.
Right.
but it's to kind of keep everybody up to snuff. So do your homework, do it right, get it in front of us when you can, and, when we can't.
But it wouldn't hurt to have, and I'll make the motion, that when necessary, the chairman is allowed to sign on behalf of the commission relative to the water expansion issues.
I don't want a million
Okay.
phone calls Friday morning.
no, you
Get it
wouldn't,
right.
you wouldn't
Yeah.
get those, I just want to ensure that when they're going out, if I need them, then it's,
We get a second?
I'll second the motion. I had something to add, but I forgot.
A motion and a second?
I'm just trying to see if there was anything in past minutes that I can pull up quickly, but I'm not seeing anything.
And then the only caveat I would put to it is, I don't want any dollar figures or stuff like that attached to it.
Again, when necessary, and you'll know it when you go, or when you see it.
Okay.
Well, I think that's why it was, a set dollar amount, so that way you would feel comfortable with, okay, so you do have the option to approve it, but if it's over that, then it's brought here, and it's not just you, I mean, if we vote this, it would be the chair, not just you
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
So I guess I would need to hear the motion again, please.
I'd like to make a motion, when necessary, that the chairman has the authority to sign on behalf of the commission relative to the water expansion.
I seconded it.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 That's all, folks.
You do a big.
Let's. Are you all done? All done? Results. I like results. Old business EQ, check bills.
Did we
That's
go
what-
over the,
We already talked about that earlier.
did we go,
Yeah.
water system master plan status?
McClure blew over that, didn't he?
Chris, real quick before you leave,
Yes.
need a second here. Yeah, water system master plan, in regards to the one we allocated to Beta.
Yes.
My half thought was with, and I wasn't here for the meeting, so guys, if I'm misquoted or anything, I don't have the appropriate information, please inform me. In regards to them in conjunction with Pioneer, it feels like there's some overlap with Beta's gonna help build the structure of a water department, i.e. with all the, you know, how many personnel, how many men, you know, things like that it's gonna take to run the system. Wouldn't Pioneer need that information to understand where the, you know, how much basically we need to start charging, or where we can set it, or how much it costs us to operate the system? Because the one's an engineer, one's a, you know, an actuary and accountant, right?
Yeah, and then I don't have, I'm not cognizant of your agreement with Beta as far as what they, you know, what they were gonna present as part of that. When in review of the consecutive water system, I would agree that the accountant that's going to be looking at the financial section for the consecutive water system would need that structure. He doesn't have enough, he wouldn't know inherently what you would need to run your system and to put a value to that. Once he had that outline for a water system, then that's where he would put the.
Yeah, then you can put it towards the users and, you know, kind of work your math backwards, more or less. Okay.
Whether that rate study was included with Beta, I don't know, so that's.
Did that study get approved the other meeting? I don't, I wasn't here. When Pioneer came and talked on your workshop, was there anything done?
I wasn't here.
Oh. Turn around.
As far as I believe it did.
The contract signed.
Okay,
There was no vote by the commission.
so the contract was signed.
Well, no, there was a vote, because didn't we give authority to Ms. Craven to negotiate that?
And, I asked Norma what Norma found in the minutes.
Well, I thought we had that in the email, and that was the big hoopla la.
That she was supposed to move forward with whatever she could, so we didn't lose the grant.
That was my understanding too. She had the authority to go forward.
So, all right. I thought the last we checked, it was to verify with Beta that they weren't doing the, there was an overlap, and
They
then
need
Monday,
coordination.
it was gonna take a vote to move forward, whether, after what we heard. That's where I was under the impression. But again, I wasn't here.
There was no vote Monday.
I'm fine with Pioneer, it's just, you know, I wanna make sure everything's in conjunction with itself and there's not overlap and you're not spending 20 grand and 20, you know, just make sure the stuff's all together. Cause I would like to, you know, re-kickstart Beta here and start, you know, reallocate that water master plan and get that thing rolling.
Mr. Gardner, at the end of last week's meeting, said that, you know, he'll do what we want him to do. Just, we need to have discussions with him.
So is he?
That's how he left
Is
it.
he starting yet?
I have
What's
no
his
idea.
name?
Doug Gardner.
Okay. So, like I said, I'm not against Pioneer, I'm not against them doing it, I just wanna make sure that he's in conjunction with Beta, that it just, gets done once and done right. And if there's overlap in price and stuff, obviously I don't wanna overpay for something.
May I suggest, Mr. Chairman, that maybe you have a conversation with him?
Yeah, that's fine.
In regards to,
Into the work he's going to do, and the direction he's going to go in. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, what were you gonna say?
Well, before you came, again, I had made a presentation from the Citizens Forum. I'm not overly impressed with what he did with the sewer rate. So,
What was that? Just, because I wasn't here.
when he made his presentation, which,
I haven't seen. a copy
out of that presentation,
Did you email this one? Sorry.
he,
Okay.
It's on YouTube.
he came in with his report, and in the report, and again, he's absolutely right, he came in with certified funds for the last, I believe it's 5 years, and then a projection for what the certified funds retained earnings were going to be in the 6th year. And personally, I'm surprised that he did look at the 5th year to where we dropped $300,000, why he didn't scratch his head and say, maybe I need to do a little research here, why it dropped so much, which he didn't. And the reason why it had dropped was because that was the year that we only had 3/4 of billing that was assigned to that year, which was 2016. For instance, in this year, we're going to have 5/4 of billing. So in this year, our receipts are going to read $1,359,000. Where normally our receipts are around $1 million. And the reason why is because the quarter of last year, the quarter of April, I believe it was, of January, March, wasn't recorded until the following year. So it meant that it was light $253,384. So when you add that on to the $633,000, our corrected, in my opinion, our corrected 2016 retained earnings should have read $883,630. And I realize, and I agreed with Mr. Gardner, is that, again, he has to go by certified. This is what the state certifies. Jen Vaughn brought up the point is that maybe in 2016 there should have been an asterisk there saying it was only 3/4 of earnings. Now, and again, earlier I had thanked Steve and Norma for helping me to put it together, and Steve agreed that there was that 1/4 that went into the prior year, which caused this glitch. Now, I'm not saying that the conclusion is we don't have to consider raising rates.
Correct.
But to go and make a statement that our 2017 retained earnings within 2 years is going to go from $933,000 down to $122,000. That's a shortfall of $800,000 within two years. That's 80% of our income. And I would have thought that a professional looking at this might have done a little more investigation, which he didn't. So that's why I'm saying is the guy obviously comes with great credentials. He works for a real strong group of towns, but again, I think he could have done a little more of
Okay.
of an investigation.
So I think we addressed a lot of this at the last meeting, and again, we, as you mentioned, talked about certified, and that's what the state goes by, and that's what we had to do. And then we had a lengthy discussion on if we were able to continue, because Ms. Craven had done so much work on coordinating everything that we had already voted and approved to give her the authority, if I'm not mistaken, to continue with this and get it done, correct?
No.
You're talking about the sewer now, not the water, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. So, okay, so I apologize, I was doing two things together. So, yeah, on the sewer, yes, but we did, we went through and we kept saying, yes, that's certified, and yes, that's the real year, but it is what it is. That's what the state's gonna look at. Like, we can't change it, and that's what we talked about at the last meeting.
Mr. Chairman, the numbers are certainly what was listed, but what wasn't shown was the glitch that we had, which our administration had, to where we didn't have 4 billing periods in 4 quarters. We ended up having 3 billing periods.
Is that what he sent us?
It's right here, Gabe. Here's a copy.
There's like 4 pages?
Of 6.
Okay. I just want to make sure I
Oh,
got
here,
it.
Gabe, here's a clean copy. Give me my hand scratch back. Thank you.
So,
Okay. All right.
where are we at? What's,
Well, now we get the backstory of Pioneer, so.
Well, again, I'm just saying, is,
No,
is,
no, it's fine.
you have to be involved, that's all.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to, after reviewing the beta situation with the, Steve had resent me the proposal that we approved back in February for beta. And I would like to go ahead, and start having them do stuff, reactivate that plan and get it moving. If you would like to put it on the agenda for next time, and we can pick and choose some stuff to do, but I would like to go ahead and just say start working on it,
To move forward.
to move forward with it.
Done?
Move forward with what?
The water master plan that Beta gave us back in February. So, it's already approved, we were just cherry picking the pieces. I think we're at the time now where it's, okay, go ahead and do it. Pioneer, some of these companies are gonna need some of that information that Beta's gonna have in there, so.
Have you had Beta come in and give you an update straight from them? Have you asked them to come to your meeting?
They've been here twice.
They've been in twice. Asked about 30 times, but been in twice. But they've done what they've needed to do. We've only had them do a few things so far, which was the hydrant testing, what is there, was there one other thing, Chris?
The hydraulic model was the
Oh, the hydraulic model and the,
That's the only thing you gave them.
Correct.
Was the hydraulic model.
yep. And then things probably in the spring got distracted and moved away. We were supposed to get some other pieces going in the interim, but
Well, please let me know if you change any of the scopes between Beta or Pioneer, because I've already got them approved by the state under the grants, and if you start to change some things, I just need to know about it and make sure you can switch if you're talking about switching direction from between those two.
So Beta, my quick overview is Beta would stay exactly the same. His is already outlined. It's all engineering stuff. The question is just to what extent would Pioneer have to go into it? Because we technically don't have a customer, we don't have anything, so it's just to make sure, to what extent, will he dive into it, that's all. And clarification on that, so. Can I make motions? I think I can, right?
Usually not. Again, that, to me, Mr. Chairman, is, you're the chairman, just give him a call.
No, not about the Pioneer, I want the Beta thing.
Yeah, Beta, same thing.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion to that? I mean, it's already approved.
Talk to him. Paul, what do you think?
But what?
Talking to Beta.
You mean Gabe
Yeah,
himself
yeah,
instead
yeah.
of, doesn't it? They've been, like you said, they've been here twice or more.
Right, and find out how come when it's going to give us a report
Understanding how
on that
and
study
getting
that
it
they just
clarified.
did.
As opposed to another time, I'll come back here and.
Right, I'm just take the gas stove from low to turn it up to high. We've got to get something done here.
Yeah. Go ahead,
I
Steve.
had spoken with Beta about the testing they did on Wednesday. They didn't have all the results correlated, but they felt they would have them before the week was out. When I get them, I'll email them to you.
So that was, you talked to him last Wednesday.
No, I talked to them today, actually, by email.
Isn't today Tuesday?
No, today's Monday.
Here's
Oh,
Monday.
Monday, okay. I thought you talked to him Wednesday.
By
Last
email, I
Wednesday.
talked with them
Okay,
today.
okay.
That's what I got.
Okay.
Do you mind sending him an email and asking him the timeframe, expected completion, if we gave him the go-ahead with everything of his original contract?
See, this is what sewer meetings will do 3 weeks in a row.
What's that?
Sewer meetings,
I know.
yeah.
I would like to have a conversation with you if you're actually if you're talking about activating Beta for the rest of the components that you did not choose to award to him then?
No, we awarded him.
Because you've already, no.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
You only awarded a certain amount, you only have a contract for a certain amount.
$68,000 or $78,000, which everything was already scoped out. So what we did is, there was like 14 line items. We only chose 2 to get him started with, but we've already allocated that contract, so it's just the other 10 or 12 items that are in it. That's how I understood it.
All right, I'm gonna take a look at it too before,
Yeah.
to make sure, because you have a contract with Pioneer. If I'm hearing you saying you're trying to get out of your contract with Pioneer,
No.
then just tell me and I'll,
No, I don't want to get out of it.
but I don't think you wanna be having them do the same thing as what Pioneer is doing.
So Beta is an engineering company, so you're going to get engineering analysis. Pioneer is more of an accounting actuary company. You're going to get, you know what I mean? You're going to get those type of stuff. There is a little overlap. I just want to make sure Beta gives them the information so they can get a true number. So that's kind of what it is. So maybe Pioneer might have to hold off a month so Beta can get some of their engineering information. Like Pioneer ain't going to care about how many hydrants we have, but they are going to care, how many people it takes to flush all those hydrants. Does that make sense? So, that's all.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, that's my intent, it's not to, yeah. So I gotta make the phone call? Is that what?
Yeah, you know, what I would say, we don't need a motion for that, I don't think.
Okay.
It's no different than calling up McLaurin saying, when are you going to get it done? That's all.
You can do that, Steve. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just correspond with me, I guess. All right. Next is you talked about the hydraulic study, right?
Yes.
The hydrant flowing, very poor, it's challenging. Okay, old business?
We don't know. Mr.
Yeah, I think we're done.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. Good night.
Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you.
We talked about the EQ, 2 and 3.
We did.
We did,
Did we did? Okay.
yeah.
They gonna fix them or what?
We fixed 2, and they're going to look at the other 2,
They
right?
fixed 2. I'm going to send the 2 that we retrieved for a reeval as to whether repair or buy new, using the 64-year-old. So when I get numbers back, I'll be contacting you.
Right. And Chris, did you mention something about the matrix status?
No, that was, I think I put that on.
Yes.
No, that's on, I thought Chris had mentioned something about it earlier. That's fine.
Okay. Is there really anything major and updated with the
PNS
matrix?
agreement, that's already been talked about.
So I kind of set out kind of did a little bit of work on it, but basically I was turning it over to the clerk to kind of fill in the statuses and kind of go from there. So I don't know if that's something that you need to get with Robin, Steve, Norma to kind of update us on prioritizing and things. But, you know, we kind of needed to, like you said, kind of keep our eyes on all this stuff, so, is that something that, you can,
Me personally, you know, Steve, Norma, and Robin, by all means, you know what I mean, and I'll gladly look at it every week and go over it. Unless somebody wants to volunteer for some extra work.
we already voted that it would be the clerk that would update it.
Okay. Doesn't bother me. So how is it gonna get
I remember
updated?
such a vote, but
I am not the clerk, so I cannot,
How's it gonna get updated? Like, no. I know how he's gonna put a key on a keyboard, but how is he gonna get the information to update it?
gotta come through Robin and Norman and Steve.
Steve, yeah.
We gotta get feedback back.
So I think the three of you kind of, you know what I mean, stay in cahoots with it, and then Paul can check on it and, you know, make sure that we're kind
Metrics
of,
again, I've kind of forgotten what's in there now, it's been a while, but I'll get into
we
it.
actually discussed it, but,
I know you put some work in with it, Jen. Would you like to work with Paul on it, or?
no, I'm not the clerk anymore, I was voted out.
It's not about the clerk, I'm just asking, you put some hard work into it, I want to see if you want to keep it going, that's all.
At this point, no, I would rather pass it on to the clerk as we had voted.
Okay?
Meeting with Southbridge Water?
So, is that something that you'll be able to provide us an update at every meeting?
I'll try. Right now, I've got to refresh my memory on this thing. This was quite a few weeks ago when I came through here, so I'll get out my copy and see where we stand with it.
So, and I can send you what I had started to work on, just to, when I was clerk, to kind of add timeline and what's done, what's not done, so we can keep in line. So I will email that over to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Right. So, all right, PNX agreement, I think that's good, yeah, that's fine. When that's done, you'll bring it over. Meeting with Southbridge on water. I know we tried a little bit, sorry.
You're working directly with Heather on that?
I did have a brief conversation with her, you know, just basically how the flow of communication goes. Her response to me was, basically, it flows like it does in her town. She notifies appropriate channels, which I think at your office, Robin and Steve, like if she's coming and flushing and stuff like that. Correct, Steve? Right?
Flushing she sends out, or they have, it's coming out.
Posted, yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
So, I asked her about possibly, you know, where do we draw the line in the sand with, we need some information, we're trying to figure out what's going on. You know, where are they with PRV pits, where, you know, just a little better information across the board. She kind of basically told me that they were more than happy to answer any of our questions. They just do not want to get tied down with report after report after report. So if we have a concern or a question, pick up the phone and call them, and they'll gladly tell us what they're doing. They just don't want to be, at this point, having to, you know, take time away from them and make report after report after report. So I don't know if that's the right answer or the wrong answer, but that's the answer I got. So I think what we should do is if we do have questions coming up, maybe to have Steve contact them or, you know, something like that, so we can have some answers for a meeting. So if we call them prior to, we can go from there. Go ahead.
So just to clarify, so originally we were trying to put together a meeting with a minimum of 2, which I agree it was you and Mr. Lemietsky, and Southbridge couldn't find a time that they were able to meet with us, is that?
I couldn't find a time. It was just, because it happened, I think this is that next Monday, Tuesday, right, Steve?
Yep.
It just didn't work out with time. I did, like I said, I had a phone conversation with Heather. I don't quite know how, we do need to have the conversation. I just don't quite know how much we're gonna get out of it, as much as we think, so. Is the moral, is kind of the long and short of the conversation that I got, so.
All right, thank you.
She did ask that, you know, we need to do a formal meeting, she's more than happy, but she would like to, you know, just keep it, you know, a couple commissioners or whatever, and I don't care who, you know, is the couple, so that does not bother me one bit. Okay, so do you guys want to try and set up something else? Do you want to?
I'm fine with that, just, you know, if you got a question, give a call.
Yeah. My big thing was the blow-off, you know, was just
Exactly.
keep us up to date and, you know, any other tidbits if you're, you know, I just don't want to feel like she basically told me they did a lot of stuff in regards to the PRV and certain applications, but if nobody knows, we're assuming they're not doing nothing.
That's right.
When that's not the case. They are doing stuff, they're trying to make the system better, you know, so that's the moral of the story. That's what I got.
Next.
Next. Okay, status of the superintendent.
We talked about that before you arrived tonight, and Steve said that we had had 6 applications so far, and we decided to cut off any further advertising as of August 15th. In the meantime, we're going to start
Reviewing.
interviews,
Okay,
so.
so that will go to HR first, I believe. They're gonna score them.
Yeah.
Right.
I told the commission I'll take care of that for you.
Okay. And then we probably review them before, then, you know, narrow it down from there, basically, from there, and then
Should
do it.
probably just set up for those that qualify, based on your qualifications, set up questions, sample questions for you, score them, you'll get them, and then she'll set up interviews so that you can interview the candidates. Actually, that's how we've done for the other ones, so.
Should we do that with all 6, or narrow it to like a top 3, or?
I would say, depending on if the qualifications meet, if they meet the qualifications that you've set, have them come in, because you can probably just do boom, boom, minute interviews.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah. The only thing I get nervous of is, you know, 6 interviews is, you know, we don't have enough time to get through a meeting as is, never mind. But,
But
you
you
know,
could also just have a meeting just for the interviews too.
that's true.
We could-
Okay,
You could do an off night, so you're not trying to cram everything in.
okay. Yep. Okay. All right, so that's all set. And then, we talked about the grants and stuff, right? I believe?
No.
We didn't?
We might have talked about some, but what I was asking, and I
Okay.
believe you have a copy of it, is I talked to Congressman Neal's office to see if there was any way they could find any other monies for us in regards to funding to kind of piggyback off on all the grants. And they could look into like MEMA and all those different things. So basically what they told me is they would definitely be happy to work with us. They're very familiar, they know a little bit about what's going on. But they did ask that we had an information release, so I'm bringing it before the committee or the commission to have authorization for them to kind of look into any other forms that we might be able to get for additional funding so we can get Charlton some much-needed water.
Congressman Neal, he's federal, right?
Yep.
He is actually Ways and Means Commissioner,
He's the ranking member of the Ways and Means Committee. That's where the money is.
so, and he was, his office was very open. They called me several times. They have several people that are very aware of what has been going on with Charlton and Exxon, so I just felt this was an additional way to,
Absolutely.
so,
What do you need from us?
I need approval from the commission, so I would like to make a motion that you will allow me to complete the information release form and send it to Congressman Neal's office so he can pursue any further information, grants, money that we can get to assist our town.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Nice work, John.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sure, not to ask any more work from our town administrator, but I'm sure she'd probably be happy to, tidbit in with you if you need any help.
Right, I'm just trying to take as
Just
much off.
threw a little
her
more on your
as-
plate,
No,
why
I'm trying
not?
to take stuff off her plate before, we actually
Yeah.
hire someone, so just start the process rolling, because it's gonna take a little bit of time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thanks, Jen. Okay, new business. We talk about any of this new EQ pumps? Did you talk about any of this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going to be, I guess, we're going to have them sent out to be evaluated. Right.
Okay. Because we have two new ones, right? And then
Two new ones were installed, we pulled out two. They need to be looked at because the two that are on the ground need to be replaced. So,
The two old ones or the two new ones?
no, we have two new ones in, we
Yeah.
took those out. They were the worst of the four.
Okay.
Those are the ones we need to have looked at because the two that are still on the ground need to be replaced.
Replace either with rebuilt or with new ones, so that's why we're going to evaluate the two that they took out.
Okay. Okay, and then, I don't know if we talked,
No, we haven't got there.
motion to have the chair sign authority for commission relative to ExxonMobil water permit, sign and skate.
Oh, that one, yeah, that's.
We did that.
Yeah, that's been
Yeah.
done.
What,
one.
stop.
Now you've got a dollar limit on it.
Stop, what's with the skater purchase up to $10,000?
The motion that was passed with the past chairman, because there was a SCADA conversation on, reads pretty much like that, and SCADA purchases up to $10,000, and that's been eliminated based on this recent conversation.
Okay.
So are we purchasing any more skater
I
equipment?
haven't heard any more since. They came in and they did sightings from our tank, from our building, from the tank up by the,
Okay, this is only, excuse me, Steve, it's only relative to water.
yes,
not
I'm sorry,
relative to
just
sewer.
relative to what? Relative to the ExxonMobil project, exactly.
Okay, would that be reimbursable if it's relative to ExxonMobil? Water project?
Don't know.
Okay.
But there's nothing out there, so we
No,
don't have to worry
it's just,
about it.
it had, when the motion was first made, they had been to the plant on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
That was what had come up in conversation, was that costs of up to $10,000 may be forthcoming, or may be necessary, or may be desirable to make the system work. Because they were talking about, they have planning to put the SCADA view at the office down at the water and sewer plant.
Okay, which I think we talked about this morning, earlier with Chris. Days are blurring together.
Tell me about it.
Okay. I believe it was all set. They're gonna put the interface
Yep.
down there, so, all right, that's good. And then, we should probably do a formal motion for the matching funds of the MassWorks, engineering and development.
I make a motion. Go ahead.
Thanks.
No,
I
no.
I can't make the motion.
Yeah, I'm going to excuse myself from this conversation.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve matching funds of $25,000 for the MassWorks Fund to continue engineering and development. I believe it was a matching grant, and, we needed to match it, is what they asked, and the funds would come from the water budget line item.
And a motion in a second?
I'm saying, this is the one we
Yeah,
talked about in between meetings
Yeah.
and approved.
Yep. Motion and second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
So, just wanted to re-put it out and,
Yep,
That's official.
just making it official.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is August 21st. At
Second that.
6:30 PM.
You don't have an executive session? I do want to give you some information about the water bills. Thought you had that on there.
You know, I apologize, I just thought it was here as a boilerplate. We're going to do executive session,
That's fine.
okay?
I don't think you really need the agenda for executive session.
Right, okay, I'll make a motion that we exit our meeting to an executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body. And number 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on negotiation positions of the public body.
I don't have it in front of
We
me.
declare that it may have a detrimental.
So, the chair declares that the open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body and that the board will reconvene in open session, to open session for the purpose of adjourning.
I'll second that motion.
Lemansky, aye.
Gagnon, aye.
Berthium, aye.
Which one?
Okay, we're now in executive session. If you can shut the TV off and the microphones.
And get out.
And just shut the doors normal once,
You hit the back, I hit the front.
Oh, it's freezing down there. It's chattering.
just gonna hold on one second.
Oh, it's freezing down.
Oh, my God, I'm
I was sitting right
boiling.
underneath it.
There's nothing up here.